Welcome everybody to the Bill Superfoot Wallace YouTube channel, the official channel. And today we've got a great story from Bill himself on how he met Mr. Chuck Norris. Bill, give us the story.
You want? Oh, you want me to? Oh, okay. I'll tell you the story. I was in the United States Air Force. I came back from Okinawa, 1966, June 66, and I go to Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino, California. I'm stationed there, my last year in the service. And there's a shore and roost school downtown San Bernardino. Mickey Janek and George Torbett were the instructors. So I went down there, got with them, started training there. At that time, I was only a brown belt, remember, because I only trained for like 6 months in Okinawa because of my knee and everything. So I didn't get a chance to test for black, but I was a brown belt. So I started working out with Mickey Janek and George Torbett. About, I would say, early January, we go to the school to work out, and Mickey says, "Hey, they're having a little mini tournament down in Pasadena, California." I said, "Oh, sounds fun." He says, "Yeah, it's at Ed Parker School." Now, I had no idea who Ed Parker was, Okinawa, So I said, "Oh, okay. You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go." So I'm a brown belt. There's 3 or 4 of us, others that are brown belts. We go there with Mickey and George, and go to the Ed Parker School, and we're running all over the place, watching everybody. They're just moving around. It's like in Japanese, it's called a little shiai, little workout training center. Juji Kumite type place. You just spar, move around with each other. And I started sparring with a lot of these black belts, having a blast. And Chuck Norris was there. Joe Lewis wasn't, but Chuck Norris was there. He had a bunch of his students. And evidently, I sparred with a bunch of his students. They didn't know me, and I didn't know them. And then, I didn't get a chance to talk with Chuck. And I go back afterwards, and I said, who was their instructor? He said, a guy named Chuck Norris, who was national champion. I said, "Oh, wow. I wish I would have met him." And then go back, and this is in first part of January, February. I go to a tournament. And then in May, I think it was, there's a tournament in Las Vegas. I go to the tournament in Las Vegas. It's Chuck Norris tournament. So he puts on a tournament, and it wasn't huge, but it was a good sized tournament. And I took, I think, 4th place in the lightweight division, and still didn't get to meet Chuck yet. So we're going around and so forth. I'm out of the service June 9th, 1967. Air Force, I'm done. Thank you very much. So I'm going to drive home. And I said, well, heck, I had some guys that were driving back with me. He said, "Hey, why don't we drive up the Pacific Coast Highway, go up to Monterey, and come from Monterey right across I-80 to Indiana?" Okay, we'll do that. So I'm driving taking I-10 towards Pacific Coast Highway. And some guy said, "Hey, Chuck Norris is having a camp." I said, "Where is he?" He said, "Someplace in Santa Monica." So I said, "Okay." So we ask around, and they say, "Hey, it's at this place right here." So it's at campgrounds. So we go to the campgrounds, and there's Chuck Norris over there, just sitting on the side talking with a bunch of guys. So we walk up, and I said, "Mr. Norris, my name is Bill Wallace. I was at your tournament in, I think it was May this last year, and had a blast." He said, "Oh, thank you very much. What's your name?" I said, "Bill Wallace." And he said, then he introduced me to all of his guys. There were a bunch of Koreans there that were doing seminars for him and so forth. But that's how we met. Very, very congenial. "Hello, how you doing?" And then I drive back. Stop, by the way, a little anecdote here. I go up to now 1967, June 1967. What's happening in Monterey, California? The Monterey Pop Festival. Mm-hmm. So we stopped by there. I see Mamas and the Papas. I see Jimi Hendrix. I see, just walking around because it hadn't opened yet. We got there on a Thursday, I think it was. So we looked over these people. They were, I didn't know who they were then, but I'm looking all around. Hey, wow. We got in the car and we drive home. And my whole thing was to meet Chuck Norris. I had not met Joe Lewis yet, but I met Chuck Norris. I met some of these guys from his system, from the Tongsudo system, also from the Taekwondo system. But very small meeting. But we said, "Hi, how you doing? I remember you. You fought up you were one of the guys that came to Ed Parker School." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Oh, you did good." I said, "Well, thank you." But I don't remember any of that stuff. But again, that's how we met. And then we started competing in tournaments, and we met in Dallas. Again, Dallas. That's where we became kind of really good friends.
Yeah.
But
Wow. So it was just very kind of just not
yeah,
super exciting, but for you it was. It was kind of like when I met you. You were just very down to earth person. I come to you and hello, Mr. Wallace. My name is Jim Ginter, and so and so. But for you, he was the national champion at that time, so you knew who he was.
Yeah,
And
he was just like me. He just said, "Hi, how you doing?" And just like we were friends for weeks or friends for years, you might say, and just the nicest guy in the whole world. And then in '78, he comes by my school that I'm working for, Elvis Presley in Memphis, Tennessee. He comes by the school and says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm fine." He says, "Could we spar?" Now understand that I'm still the kickboxing champion, 1978. And he says, "Could we spar?" And I went, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, I'd love to spar with you." So we kick everybody out of the school. Everybody's gone. And he and I, for about an hour and a half, just beat the crap out of each other. I hit him, he hits me. We have a blast. And nobody will ever know what happened. Nobody will ever know who won, who, whatever. We had a blast. And afterwards, he said, "I'm doing a movie called The Force of One. I would like you to be the bad guy." The bad guy? I have too much fun to be the bad guy. He said, "Yeah, you'd be a great bad guy." So we want you to come out to LA, read for the part. I went out to LA, read for the part. He said, "You're perfect. You're going to do it."
So that'll be a great story to talk about, or maybe our next video about how you did that movie with Chuck Norris. So basically, leading up until that time where he asked you to, where you guys sparred, and he asked you to be in that movie of his, you were more or less acquaintances and semi friends.
Except in 1976, I'm in April. I believe it's April 1976. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm going to defend my title against a guy named Jimmy Colas. Now, this is still in its infancy. Kickboxing, full contact karate is in its infancy. So I was still training, but I didn't have people that were with me year round or 100% of the time. So I get to Las Vegas and I'm there. The fight's like today. And I'm sitting there, I'm ready to go. I'm not worried. And I said, "Hey, I don't have a corner man." And Chuck Norris was there. This is, you can look this up. This is archived. This is absolutely fantastic. Chuck Norris is there. Joe Louis is there. And Mike Stone is there to watch the fight. And I'm sitting in the dressing room. They come and wish me luck. And I say, "Hey, I don't have a corner man. Would you guys work my corner for me?" And they said, "Yeah, we'd love to." Now imagine this. The old guys. You have Chuck Norris, Mike Stone, and Joe Louis in your corner. How can I lose? Worse yet, what happens if I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so we became. I would like to consider great friends.